Welcome back, guys. We're going to be going throughout the kitchen today, just prepping several ingredients for a week of scratch cooking. Come along and get some ideas with me, and let's just have some fun in the kitchen.
Welcome, I'm Brittany, mom of 3, deep in the suburbs of the South with homesteading dreams. But homesteading doesn't just start on a large piece of property. It starts in your kitchen. So grab a cup of coffee and let's chat about how we're going to catch that dream with one little step at a time.
I used to be one of those people that love to prep at the beginning of the week different meals, like literally the cute little containers that you can get and make yourself excited about eating the same exact thing every day at lunch. I tried it for a while. I tried it for dinners and tried it for lunches, sometimes breakfast. And it just couldn't secure itself as a habit in my routine. And the truth is, I think we all like a little variety. And that style of prepping just did not jive with me and my family. But I have found a prep that totally helps us in the kitchen and allows us to get completely creative and still utilize it in many different ways and just help us out. So one of those is bone broth. I have talked about how much I love bone broth, and you're going to hear about it again because it is just so helpful and nutrient packed. So I started this the night before. I just always pretty much have either a chicken or some type of roast or something like that going to where I have some bones on hand to make bone broth. And if I don't have the bones, I will make chicken broth. So we just kind of keep that on hand. I put it in these jars, let it cool throughout the day, and then I will freeze about half of them, and then we will use the other half during the week. And then another thing that I always have to prep is bread. We have gotten to where we do not buy bread as a routine thing throughout the week. I am always trying to at least make sandwich bread. We go through different times where I'll be in a bread kick and we are having bread like every day, several different types of breads throughout the week. And then there will be those weeks where, I'm just struggling to get my sandwich bread out. But we do always make it happen because we do have sandwiches for lunch different days of the week, and it can help with, toast for breakfast, or maybe even, grilled cheese for dinner with a light soup. So we always try to get that at least done and keep that sourdough starter fed so that I can make breakfasts or add it to dinners and just keep that on hand. It's always come in handy, and my kids have gotten to where they are completely adapted to sourdough, which is awesome. They are good kids. They're not super picky, at least yet. There are so many phases of childhood, but for now, they're being good sports. And this is just a basic sourdough. I try to make the buttery type bread for sandwiches and just couldn't really get in the swing of it. I honestly think it's because I had to pull out the mixer. And with this, I'm literally just doing the same recipe I do with like a country loaf, I believe they call it. Except I'm putting it on a loaf pan and spraying the pan with some olive oil. So it is not maybe as soft as regular sandwich bread, but it's still like not dry at all. It's hard to explain, but it has a great texture to it. So they love it, and that's what we end up doing each week. And I also try to stock up all of my bulk supplies. We had gotten an Azure Standard order in a few days back, and I was putting off adding all of the ingredients to the different 5-gallon buckets we have, and I really don't have that many, but I still for some reason put it off. So I do have to get that done. if we are going to keep things smoothly running in the kitchen, because there's nothing worse than saying, oh, I've got to make some oats real quick, and realizing it's still in the 25-pound bag. So I got that in our 5-gallon bucket. I actually put these huge bags in the freezer for a few days to kill off anything that could be inside, just to make sure we're good for storing it for a little bit more long term. And so we already completed that process. This glass container is what I keep in our kitchen for just adding throughout the week. And you can see I have not mastered the art of doing this in a clean manner, so just getting a quick little sweep. Even if I didn't make a mess, it's never a bad idea to do a little cleanup, because our floors are just constantly staying messy. So the 25-pound bag doesn't quite fit in the 5-gallon bucket and the gallon bucket, that are the gallon jar that I have. So I usually plan on either making a large batch of oatmeal, or in this instance I am making granola. We have started getting into making granola a lot. The kids love it, and it just makes our meals where we'll have a big bowl of yogurt with fruit and all that good stuff just a little bit more hearty, and just kind of fun for them. And just fun to snack on too with a little meat or something. So we just have that on hand, and I decided to make 2 batches since we had our oats on hand and ready, and just went ahead and knocked that out and put some in a bag for later, and then the others we just kept in jars on hand. I'll put the link in the description for the recipe we use. We keep it extremely basic because we just like having the very basic recipe, and then adding some add-ins if we want to do like a trail mix type situation. But we like keeping it pretty basic just so it's more versatile that way. But this particular recipe, it calls for coconut oil, salt, vanilla, cinnamon, and oats, and then whatever sweetener you like. This time we did half honey, half maple, and I think that's been my favorite blend. It was delicious. We've done just honey before, but I did enjoy the extra little maple flavor. So, and we measure cinnamon with our heart, so we just dump it in and enjoy what comes out. So we don't really measure that. I will be featuring some more oat goodies in a video coming up about scratch cooking snacks, so be on the lookout for that one. I've got a new recipe I want to try, and some other goods that we have been doing for a while now, so we definitely keep those running in our kitchen. We like snacks. So at this time, it had gotten to about the lunch point. I was gonna be hearing some little noisy children wanting food. So went ahead and cleaned up the Instant Pot and decided to reheat a soup. I had made like this potato corn chowdery type thing. I don't know. I never have true recipes when I'm making soups like that. I just kind of throw in what we have, and I guess it always turns out good. Somehow it always turns out good. Nobody's ever complaining, really. So, especially when you add some toppings. So this is what I was talking about adding for a soup. It just really helps when you're trying to reheat something. I love reheating in the Instant Pot because I can do it for like just a couple minutes and it's perfectly heated. So it was pretty thick after being in the fridge like that, so I just added about a cup of the broth, and then you're not watering it down, it's adding flavor still, and then I just set it for literally 2 minutes in the Instant Pot, and it comes to pressure and then heats up and it will be ready. And then those are the kind of things that I do on these prepping days because I am in my kitchen most of the day, so I don't really want to stop to do some huge meal right in the middle of that when I'm already kind of dirtying dishes and trying to keep busy. So yeah, we just mixed all that mixture of the granola, and then you just kind of press it out onto a pan. I just do a parchment lined. It's a lot easier to transfer because I only use the one pan usually. So We spread that out, and then here our lunch is ready. I just did enough just for me and the kids. We were the only ones here today, so didn't need much. They're still pretty young, so they don't have super hearty appetites just yet. Unless it's like pizza or something, and then they magically have these huge appetites. But I just poured this soup in here, and then I think that every soup just needs toppings. It's just the only way to eat soup, in my opinion. And as I've mentioned in the past, we really like anything with a Mexican flair, and this had some Mexican seasonings in it, or at least some of the flavors of Mexican. So we added in some good sour cream just to kind of calm a little bit of the spice down for the boys, and I just like the cream in mine, so did that. And then of course our raw cheddar, because you just can't really have a soup without cheddar on top. At least that's what my boys think. I bring a soup to the table without cheese on top, and they're asking what's going on. So we gave a hefty little amount of cheese to each bowl, and they're happy campers. And then I'm just doing my first little round of stretch and folds, and as you can see, it's real stretchy there already. I believe that means the gluten is developing or something of that sort. I'm not a pro with sourdough, I just make sourdough, so I think as you get into it you realize the difference. I'm not someone that's extremely precise or picky about sourdough, because we are not looking for perfection, we're just looking for some good bread. And then I am taking the first batch of the granola out, and you're supposed to not touch it and let it cool for a bit, because we do like some of the little clusters, which is what happens when you let it cool for a bit. So you can see there's a couple little clusters there, and I have to move that parchment off so I can use my jar. So I've already got some granola to put away for the week. I'm excited about that. Okay, so I actually slipped this clip in here. This was a few days after. It actually got thrown in our fridge and I just got busy. And you'll see it over fermented just a tad, and you know, it wasn't the most beautiful loaf I had ever made, but it was kind of the extra loaf just for putting on the side of soup or something like that. We already had our loaf of sandwich bread, so I was like, it'll be fine. And like I said, it wasn't perfect, but it actually did fine. I tried this new method of putting in a cast iron instead of my big Dutch oven, and it was fine. Like it didn't probably have as much oven spring as it would in the Dutch oven, but it did perfect because I had already been using my Dutch oven, so it really would have been inconvenient to have had to empty it out and clean it and all that kind of stuff before getting to make the bread. So I'm like, you know what, this is what we got on hand, and we were satisfied. Tasted great to us. So good to have that little trick in our pockets. And then I am starting some yogurt. We just recently started making yogurt a couple months back, and I'm hooked. It is great. We can get a lot better quality of yogurt for much cheaper than we were getting it for through Azure Standard. They have some really good brands, and so that was the best we could get. And I just figured, wow, we already get our raw milk. I could probably try this out, see how it goes. And I was shook. I couldn't believe how easy it was to make and to have that much on hand as well instead of getting a bunch of containers. So the way I do it is we just get a gallon of raw milk boiling in our Instant Pot. The Instant Pot makes it so easy because it has a yogurt setting. So you're just hitting that yogurt setting, set it to get to the boiling point that it's supposed to be for yogurt. I usually start it at night, which is what I did this day. And I get some plain organic Greek yogurt from Aldi that I use. So here I'm just tempering the yogurt because I had just gotten out of the fridge. So usually you just don't want to put straight cold yogurt into it. So I just mix that up and put it back in there, stir it around a little bit, and then I just set it to the ferment or whatever you would call that setting for 12 hours. We usually do it for 12 hours. And then here you can see it was done at the 12-hour point. And something I've learned with raw yogurt is it just tends to be a little bit thinner. And I've tried a few different methods, and this is what we settle on to really get that thicker, creamier yogurt that we like and that we are more used to. And straining it has just been the best. I tried this with cheesecloth, and at least the cheesecloth I got, it did not work. It was far too thin. It just basically all my yogurt came out from underneath. So I am instead using a flour sack cloth, or whatever you would call those. I think flour sack towel is what it is. And there I leave it over a strainer or colander, and you can see the whey is separating and just dripping out under there. It's so cool. We left it for about an hour, I would say. I don't know, I just kind of leave it and forget about it. And we were happy with the consistency. So I went ahead and started straining it out. I've got a method that I learned worked after losing half my yogurt one time. And I basically just create this little hole that I pour it through. And it's just kind of a slower process. You got to take a minute to make sure you're getting all your good yogurt, but making sure you've strained out enough whey. And we just get that in there. You can see the consistency is great. And now I break some rules with making yogurt. You were supposed to let it sit in the Instant Pot for a full 24 hours before touching it. And that just wasn't convenient. I have one Instant Pot and I use it religiously. So we just decided we were going to do that. It's kind of worked out fine. I do try to allow the yogurt to set in the glass container for 24 hours before we use it, because I do find it gets a little thicker that way. But it's definitely just fine to move it to a container. At least we haven't found an issue with this. And this is all the way. Look at that color, guys. I just think that's the coolest. I definitely have to label this in my fridge so that no one thinks it's lemonade. Because they would be sorely disappointed. But guys, there is so much you can do with whey. I had to look it up because I'm like, okay, I know we can use this, but good heavens, what do we use it in? And oh my word, you can add it to smoothies. Like, it's a great source of protein, which makes total sense since we buy whey protein. I don't know why I didn't connect the dots, but it makes this a great source of protein. And so you can use it in smoothies and baking. You can even make whey lemonade. So I think we may do that someday. And another thing that I will add to our list, especially in the fall, is soaking beans. Beans are pretty hard on our system to digest if they're unsoaked with some type of acidity. I believe you can actually use the whey for this as well. I did soak oats with whey, and these were the results. So I do add a little white vinegar here out of apple cider vinegar. So just add a little vinegar and then cover it with water and let it sit on the counter. and I will make these into some kind of soup, and just great to have on hand because usually when I want to utilize beans, I don't have any soaked. So I've finally learned to have them soaked. And then the last little prep here is always starting a chicken. You can see I have a little helper in here that is giving me little fun fits back there. But she was a little fussy, and so I just wanted to be with Mama, and I didn't mind it one bit. We try to always reserve our bacon fat from cooking bacon. We try to get a good quality of bacon, so I love reserving all that delicious flavor and not having to use one of my other fats that are much more expensive. So I decided to try bacon fat with this, and some salt and garlic powder, and literally that's all I did, and it was so good. I didn't even have to put any of it under the skin or anything. I just let it kind of marinate in that, and it was delicious. Also added some coconut aminos, just had some depth of flavor. We use it a lot for different little things like that. And we just had that going throughout the day and broke it down later to just have in the fridge for the week.
Alright guys, thanks for joining me today on my multi-day prepping for a week of scratch cooking. I hope you got some good ideas or something that you found helpful, and I hope to see you back next week. We're going to be talking fall and some different meal ideas we've been making and enjoying, and a couple little fall projects just to get into the season. So thanks for coming. We'll see you.